Oh, it's so good.
Is that seawater?
Look at this, dude.
This is so the most disgusting car I've ever touched.
Holy moly, man. Today is the day. Hector, today's the day. And look, he's already working on other stuff for the race car. But we are here to pick up the C8 chassis. It's right here. It's freaking beautiful. It's phenomenal. This guy, Hector, is the freaking man. He spends so much time. I can assure you, every tube is perfectly glossy all the way around. Oh, it's so good. God damn. Look at this. So yeah, we decided to leave the rockers on because there's not a ton of viable options for just a carbon Kevlar or carbon replacement rocker. So I'm gonna leave them for now. So you had to paint the rocker. Car's gonna be black, spoiler alert. God damn, Hector! Look at this thing. Dude, it's the craziest thing. Like, you look inside of the tunnel and it's perfectly glossy. Inside of all these little pockets, like, how do you get gloss in here, dude?
Hey, you remember how much sand was left in here?
Yeah, no more sand. No more sand. Well, now the paint is just sanded over, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow, dude. Damn. Like, how does he get it glossy in here?
Right?
Yeah.
Back here.
How? How is it possible? Yep.
I love this all the
Yep. It don't get any better than this. God damn. I don't even remember this thing.
I know. I was just looking at this stuff. I'm like, damn.
We did that. We did that's a lot of play.
I forgot.
Yeah. It's gonna be. This is a huge distraction now, man. I just want to start putting parts on this thing already, dude. Like laying the radiator in for the first time. I'm gonna be so freaking pumped. Putting the fuel cell in. PWR radiator, set it in. Oh man, I'm already losing focus. This thing is so sick.
Yep.
We are freaking back at the shop and we're back on this because it is time to start assembly. Picked up the chassis from Hector, immediately brought it to Steve at Xtreme Kustom Detail. He ceramic coated the entire chassis and now it's unloaded and in the shop. It feels great. The race car is officially on the East Coast for its East Coast tour and now we can shift focus, when we're back at the shop at least, on assembling this. It's been a long time coming. All of our focus has solely been on the race car for the past 2 months, and we've kind of not thought about this and also not had it, but now it's time. First thing we do, we brought the fuel cell out. We did our final check over of a couple of things, refixed this because I hadn't done that yet, and that's gonna be ready to go in the car. Same thing, pedals, oil cooler, systems, things, because the goal is to place everything that we possibly can and get our fitting order over to Vibrant, because it is gonna be a massive order. Plumbing this car front to back, and as you guys know, plumbing a car takes hours and hours and hours, but also figuring out part numbers and what you need and quantities takes hours and hours and hours. So that's the goal. Let's place some stuff and let's build our fitting order for Vibrant. Boom, fuel cell installed. Done. Next up, we're gonna install the pedals. Now, because we are gonna be using drive-by-wire, there's a little bracket and a little adapter and a couple of pieces that we need to attach to the pedals before we put them on. And as I'm saying this, it reminds me that I need the drive-by-wire sensor. So I'll probably hit up Link, because they have that little 2-bolt guy for the drive-by-wire that bolts on to the tilt and pedals. I'll show you guys what we're talking about. Big instruction guy, look at him. Yes, drive-by-wire. That guy.
Floor mount.
That's the little guy I need right there.
Yeah, that's him.
Yes.
Right. So I got the tilt-in drive-by-wire bracket set up for our floor mounts, because this thing will work for both hanging throttle and also floor mounts. So it comes in the directions and shows you exactly how to set that up. Potentiometer that comes from Link is going to hook up to right here. I'm going to go ahead and get this thing mounted to the paddle box. So once we get that potentiometer from Link, that'll get mounted right here. The cool thing too is that you can adjust the pedal throw for the throttle input ratio. So I like that a lot. This is kind of how we always had it on the race cars, straight, so it looks good.
Okay, one thing that I didn't talk about is that Alec and I went through every thread and every bulkhead nut and chased all the paint out of it. You can imagine there's a lot of riv nuts, there's a lot of thread certs, a lot of everything. But because that's done, boom, I can go ahead and drop this handbrake in real easy. Set it right there. Ooh, that thing's getting sandwiched onto the fresh paint, dude. I can feel it digging into the fresh paint.
Well, you've already dropped a ton of stuff and chipped away half the paint on this car, so. At least there's no like nut on the backside, it's just threaded into there.
Threaded into
I like that a lot. Yeah. That makes it a little bit easier at least.
It's not bad at all.
Dang, dude, that feels good. So let's go ahead and get this thing mounted. Time to put the fuel filler into the car. This thing has to go in before the radiator, but of course Matt and I already got the fuel cell in. So of course the straight silicone coupler was on. Got to get some clamps for that guy. Use a nut and a bolt to attach that to the firewall. Tube runs forward under the radiator to another coupler, and then the quick fill is going to be right there sticking out in front of the radiator on that bracket there. Should look super nice now that the car is all painted. Okay, so I got this beautiful fuel filler tube installed into the chassis. It's pretty simple, just bolts to the firewall with some 6mm nut and bolt. Straight silicone adapter, and then there's going to be a 90 adapter here, and then of course the quick fill is going to mount up right onto the radiator. So that thing looks great. Thank you very much, CAD Chris. Your design just works out perfectly every time. This is what's going to be the next step. This piece of equipment right here from PWR. God, this thing is awesome. It's gonna sit right there, but I gotta be a little careful putting it in because, you know, gotta make sure the chassis stays perfect. Nope, not gonna happen. All right, now that the bracketry is installed for the oil tank, I'm gonna go ahead and get that thing set in. R2D2, this thing's a freaking monster compared to the one in our other car, but yeah, this thing looks pretty good. So that's of course going to be another part of us figuring out the plumbing situation here.
Oh, did he got American Racing? Yeah, I got a like bleeder or something.
Next thing we're going to do is equip the water pump to the radiator. We just did the final fitment check, all is good. I went through and bolt checked everything to make sure it's tight. I even flipped around this PWR logo so that it's facing the right direction on the fan. Let's get it.
And then shuts it right off. Nice. Gives a good old rev and then right off.
It's fixed. Radiator mount, so what you do have to do is take the bottom flange off of the water pump, bolt the flange to the radiator, then you put the water pump back together, and we're good to go. Let's get it. All right, here we go. Yeah, perfect. Alec is getting the shifter bolted in, and I am going to put the windshield wipers in. I need some blue Loctite probably on the handle there.
Oh, you don't want to come loose?
No, no loose. Yeah, and look at these freaking windshield wiper motors. This thing was straight disgusting, but yep, our good buddy GD vapor blasted this for us. So many parts of this thing got vapor blasted, and God, it looks so good. Look at these, what we're using. NRG. Little fender washers instead of the nasty stock bolts. I have never had a raw one before. All of them have been painted white, so I'm pretty excited about this. Damn, dude. I figure, you know, it's lighter, less coating. Good. Yeah, hell yeah, safe craft. Yeah, that's another thing. Just so you guys know, all of our tools are gone on the East Coast in the pit box. So we're literally building this entire car with this little freaking Boxo track box. Like that's it. Just a little moto toolbox basically. And maybe not the moto one, but just your small, simple hand tool, regular 3/8 stuff. But it's building the whole car so far. No complaints. I'm gonna install the shock towers. Kind of a weird thing to say, but that's how it is with the C8 Corvette. These are freshly vapor honed as well. They look so, it's unbelievable the finish of that. It looks like silver spray paint or something, but it's just a nice smooth finish. And these were super corroded. You can kind of still see the finish ain't perfect, but it's as good as it's gonna be for a freaking flood damaged car. But yeah, let's get these in. Got some brand new hardware. My Lucas grease. I'm gonna grease these, especially because it's going into an aluminum thread. I know these bolts look long, but that's how a lot of these, because the threads into the chassis are aluminum. I know it's crazy, but they get away with a ton of engagement. So I'm gonna grease the threads, put these suckers in.
Crazy in the front here.
Yeah. See, I'd say that's a good project to do. Whole race car built out of a freaking... All right, final cleaning of the oil tank before it goes back together. Just wanted to make sure. It was actually pretty clean in here, but there definitely was some metal left inside, so I'm glad we took it apart. I deburred everything. I'm gonna need to reseal this pipe fitting. I'm gonna change these fittings, but the most important thing was just making sure it's clean, lubricate the O-rings, mark the orientation, put that sucker back together. But yeah, just to show you guys, that is an air oil separator inside of the dry sump tank. So oil returns into the tank, goes through the air oil separator, then gets unaerated and falls back down to the bottom of the tank, ready to go back into the engine. Pretty freaking sweet. Putting the oil tank in this thing, got the dipstick level completely figured out. Just set the dipstick in, attaching the fill cap here. Alec is working on the fire suppression system, so he set the bottle in and he's working on making the hard lines. Because those always, if you do it afterwards, you're like, damn it, why did I wait till everything was in? This is the remote fill cap here. This will fill through the tube into the oil tank, and that's why we were working on the dipstick, because I wanted to get the dipstick level exactly where it needed to be, but it's good. So I'm going to start clamping all these things together, then I'll put the dipstick in. Okay, now I got the dipstick, which sneaks into here, inserts. And this freaking dipstick right here is actually a modified 1JZ dipstick. Thank you, Rad Dan. I tried one from a customer's cars. I was like, it's perfect, it's thin, it's flexible. And then I balled the end of it with the TIG welder so that it slides down that little snaky. Then I gave myself the fill line. Wow. That's pretty freaking good, dude. Check the oil route. Dang. Next thing, putting in the oil catch can. This was that piece that I made. You guys can see this is the inlet. It's baffled and has like steel wool in it to help catch the oil. This is where the K&N breather goes, and then this is where we're gonna drain it. I forgot to buy the drain fitting, the little ball valve, so I'll order that right now. But this thing should slide in here. And of course it goes right to this, so no big dash 20 fittings. I was trying to avoid all of that. That sits up there, 6 mil here. Need the air filter, and we're good. I am making a plate. I'm gonna DA this plate, and it's gonna be for the rear subframe. It's gonna turn into a jack point, because you never want to have a drift car without a rear jack point where you can't like muscle the car around on a jack. I'm gonna DA this sucker so we get a really nice finish, then I'll show you where it goes. One hand DA, no good. So this is the rear subframe. This is the bottom of it. It was all crushed from being jacked up because there's a gap between there. So I cut this piece of junk out, made this plate that is going to fit in right here. I'll weld it here, so now it's flat on those tubes so that it can't bend up into anything. And then I will weld a jack pad here so that the floor jack can sit on this and maneuver around, because obviously that's the bottom of the subframe. But overall, pretty simple thing, but honestly something that's often overlooked on a drift car. We jack the rear of these things up a million times every event, so if it's not safe, if it's not sturdy, and you're constantly worried about the jack slipping off, headache. This will solve all that. Guys, cutting some carbon for the interior. Weld it up. Cut myself a little chunk. It's a pretty thick boy, so that it can sit in the jack pocket, get captured, and the jack can swing it all around. Gonna weld that right on there, and then this will probably go in the car. I don't know why it won't. Maybe just to have, do some mock-up. Oh, gotta do beef up the oil filter bracket. So yeah, maybe we will put it in the car and do that.